you have a serious way of influencing people with music that probably not a lot of people do. Do you ever think about that?
There's a saying that for the music industry, there's something in the water.
Like, imagine having those tools and just knowing, what way you should, where you should focus in life.
But here they have developed AI that is built into brain technology.
This isn't something that's been really done that I know of successfully.
The potential for what we can do about our bodies, what we can do about our brains now is unlike anything in history.
Well, welcome. We are back for another episode. It's the Mike C podcast. I am Mike C. Thanks for being here. And our guest today has marketed, promoted, and produced remixed music for some of the world's biggest stars, including Shalita Burke, Nicki Minaj, Snoop Dogg, and Timberland, just to name a few. And we're just going to dive into what makes him tick. We always like talking to interesting people and drawing from them. And he's a creative genius, and there's so much we want to get into with him. We're happy to have with us Marcus Bellringer Bell. Marcus, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I look forward to jumping into some interesting conversations with you.
Yeah, you've done some really evolutionary things in music, and I want to dive into that. But let's go from the beginning. So you grew up in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah, that's correct. And there's a saying that for the music industry, there's something in the water in Virginia, because you'll have people like Timberland and Missy and Pharrell and so forth coming out of that particular area. And as I was told, I basically started in music in my mother's womb. So they used to play classical music when she was pregnant. And then around 2 years old, they discovered that I was a music prodigy, a piano prodigy. It started with piano, and then it expanded to other instruments. So because my mother was a national tennis champion when she was young in the 60s, she used to tour the country with Arthur Ashe playing tennis, and she played in the U.S. Open. It was called Forest Green back then. And so she kind of knew what a prodigy looked like.
Yeah.
And so she kind of tapped into, okay, he has some type of unique ability. Let's invest in it and support it. So I feel very fortunate around that.
That's awesome. They say classical music just does something to brainwaves, right? So if you were exposed to that while you were still in your mother's womb, like that had to shape that creativity that just naturally flows out of you, I'm assuming.
It's fascinating that you would talk about brainwaves, because I've recently had my brain scanned.
Okay.
And by one of the top neurosurgeons and neuroscientists, there's a platform that they created that actually you do an MRI, and they're able to detect abnormalities in brains.
Okay.
And so this is a company I was connected to by one of my business partners, and I'm also an entrepreneur and an investor. So oftentimes people send me projects to look at for investing. And I'm very interested in the health tech space. And I have a couple of projects and communities that I've created that involve things like biohacking. And so we're always bringing on guests to speak to that community. And so these founders invited me to get my brain scanned. And so I did the MRI, and they went in and they did this assessment. Now, fortunately for me, there were no signs of me being able to having dementia or anything like that. That's not in my cards. Right? It's not in my brain cards.
That's good.
Right?
Now you're talking like predisposition stuff, or like
predisposition. Yeah, based on the data that their technology does, and it goes on a deeper level, so you can actually see what's happening in the brain.
Yeah.
And so our lives are told from our brains. And so they discovered some abnormalities. And one of those abnormalities, which has me in the, I think, a 5 sigma outlier, I think they said
Okay.
I am,
Okay.
which means very few people in the world have what I have in terms of how my brain works. And they've looked at hundreds of thousands of brains. And so you could actually see in the scan that where it comes to sound and communication and that, it was like enlarged in
Really?
a whole different color, right? And it brought
What's that?
me, when they showed me this, it brought me back to when I was in elementary school, and the kids would tease me about my ears and say, "Oh, Marcus, you have big ears." And one day I went home and I was, upset about it. I said to my mother, "Oh, the kids are saying I have big ears and this and that." And she looks at me. She was brilliant. She says, "Well, of course you have big ears because you can hear things other people can't."
Yeah.
How did she know?
Right.
Right? And so your life, the story of your life
Mhm.
actually lives in your body. So whether that's traumas, whether that's your specialized knowledge in a particular area, and once you get access to that, you can either do something about it. Let's say if you're prone towards depression or anxiety or something like that, there are technologies that can decrease that and help for mental health.
Mhm.
And then you can enhance things too. So neurofeedback and things like that are also some of the modalities that I've been practicing over the past couple of years.
That is so wild. You know what? I would love to see that. Like this sounds very like it's in an evolving space and it hasn't, become mainstream, but can you imagine just having that technology available to like a regular pediatrician's office so that you could see in advance where your kid could excel and you could point your child in that direction. Like
Yeah.
that's fascinating.
Yeah. And I see that really that's the opportunity for technologies
Mhm.
like this, and their technology is pretty you know next level. The potential for what we can do about our bodies, what we can do about our brains now is unlike anything in history. It's just like AI, and AI it can empower so many different areas and fields. And I've just selected the music industry for my exploration of AI and business, right? Entrepreneurship and using AI tools and that. But here they have developed AI that is built into brain technology, right? And so for your listeners, if you are thinking about unlimited possibilities or problems that can be solved or new things can be created, AI is and machine learning and robotics, those fields, from what I can tell, are the force multipliers, if you will,
Mhm.
for those possibilities being realized.
That's wild. So, was there other, did they explain this brain scan technology in more depth to you? So, like, your space was having, being inclined towards music. Is there other areas that they discussed with you that they could find in other people? Like, what kind of things do they uncover? Do you know more about that?
Yeah, there, as I mentioned before, mental health.
Yeah.
So
Like
there are,
anxiety disorders and stuff?
say it again,
Like anxiety disorders and
anxiety,
stuff?
depression,
Yeah.
these types of things.
Yeah.
There are protocols that can support that, like their technology with TMS treatments and things like that. And yeah, basically, they understand how those systems work on a deeper level than most people in that world of neuroscience,
Hmm.
and it's ever evolving, right?
Yeah.
So, and as the technology gets better, the more we're able to see about ourselves and our brains. And you can look at your capacity for speech, for communication, your executive functioning, your ability to do math, or like all of that. And right now, it is possible to enhance that in people where that's underdeveloped.
Yeah. That's amazing. Like imagine having those tools and just knowing, what way you should where you should focus in life, even for adults.
Mm.
And then you learning that you're right where you're supposed to be, right? Like that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah, I was very impressed with the whole thing, and I have always been curious about human behavior, right? And and also what can we do with our brains? And how can we hack, and I mean positive hack, things like sleep? And how
Yeah.
can we hack things like our ability to be more productive? And I practice things like intentional imbalances. So I've been involved in AI, for example, for about 15 years, but over the past year and a half, I've been intentionally imbalanced in eating, sleeping, drinking, AI, and seeing what has been possible for business as well as for the music industry, which kind of led to
Mhm.
me creating an AI music character that we call Ravyn Lyte. And and that project also integrates some of the brain technologies that are available because the more people listen to Ravyn Lyte's music,
Mhm.
right, the better they feel. I spent a couple of days with a neuroscientist, and I thought I knew something about sound and music. I've been doing it literally my entire
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
until I was with this neuroscientist, and he showed me and kind of opened up the gates and the doors for me exploring this, that this particular sound wave will calm you, right? This particular frequency does this. This particular chord will do this to the body, and all of that. And so all of a sudden that just really opened up in a whole new world of creative possibilities,
Yeah.
because as a musician, I'm able to play emotions.
Right.
I'm able to create some music and write a song that will make you feel happy or melancholy or get you pumped up if you want to go to the gym or you're about to enter a meeting. That's a capacity, a skill that I've developed to be able to articulate emotions through music. And that's very, feeling based.
Mhm.
But when you bring the science to it, then it opens up, again, I keep saying, opening up
Yeah.
a whole new world of possibilities. Because that is, from what I can tell, the real opportunity that music has, pop music in particular, to really be a healing agent for humanity. And that's what I'm up to with the Raven Light project musically.
Yeah, that's wild. And I want to get into the Raven Light um, part of your work and what you're doing. That's the AI artist that you pioneered, right? Um, I think what you shared though as a music producer is phenomenal because how many other people in the music field that have influence like yourself know these like specific frequencies and areas that tap into emotions from a scientific perspective? You have a serious way of influencing people with music that probably not a lot of people do. Do you ever think about that?
I see it as a tool for communicating emotions, ideas, ideals, right? Music in itself is that kind of tool.
Yeah.
And I would agree with you. There are a handful of people that have the specialized knowledge
Hmm.
around exactly what's happening, and I'm friends with that handful of people, and
Yeah.
we collaborate and do things. Actually, two people in that community, in that handful, two of them are part of the Ravyn Lyte project. We've done a song and have a song in development for that project that I'm excited for the world to experience. And we've all had hit records in the pop music industry,
Hmm.
and we all, care deeply about humanity. And what I believe is a lot of people don't create music with the intentions, or intentionally in the way that they could.
Hmm.
Okay. So there's creating music for a specific thing, right? So there's creating music for a TV show,
Yeah.
right? We have this scene or this film, we have the scene that we're needing music for, right? There's writing for that kind of brief. Or for example, I did the music for the Reese's Puffs song, which is a viral TikTok thing. It's got like over 1 billion streams, right?
Hmm.
And that was me creating music for a particular brief, right? For Reese's Puffs, and like it's surprising to see how big that became,
Yeah.
even after the TV commercials. I did that like over 10 years ago, right? But since TikTok has blown up, that song has been a viral TikTok hit. Well, that was intention for a commercial,
Yeah.
right? And now it's being used for dance challenges and other things, right? Um, so, but when creatives are in the recording studio, when I'm in a recording studio with a recording artist, part of our work is to get at the feelings and emotions, the things that can connect with other human beings, right? Connect with listeners and so forth. So that's another way of creating, creating from an experience.
Yeah.
You know, when I got separated and divorced, oh my gosh, I wrote a breakup album,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, and that was music being used as an agent of healing
Mhm.
for myself as a creative, right? So I was able to kind of express in that, and uh, maybe this year or next year that music will get released. But that had a particular purpose, right? It was very healing for me to, create those 75 songs.
75. You're on fire, man. That's wild. That's a lot of songs.
Yeah. And then the following year, I did a 100 days challenge and did 100 songs in 100 days.
Wow.
And so I was thinking, oh, maybe I should just like release 250 songs at once, right? Like release all of the songs at once.
Yeah.
And so
Just flood
so
the industry.
just like, okay, um, that's possible too, and that's without AI, right? This I
Yeah.
wasn't even using AI inside of a lot of those creations. It wasn't until the 100 days music challenge that I did that I started getting deep into audio and AI, because I had lost my voice. And when I lost my voice doing those 100 songs, I said, okay, there has to be a way I can clone my voice so I can keep going,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so I was able to discover the technology to do that. And inside of those 100 songs, there's like a meditation album, basically, of 10 songs where there are meditations with my AI speaking voice doing meditations over music.
That's wild. That's really wild. Um, Tell me about the Raven Light project.
It's one of my favorite things that I've either created or been involved in. And as I was pointing to before, there's creating music with intention. There's creating business with intention. There's creating products, services with intention and consciousness. And the products of our businesses, of our art and so forth, are a reflection of our consciousness. And so the higher our level of consciousness is, then the more possibilities there are with the products, the services, the projects, and so forth, because it's vibrating at a higher level.
Yeah.
Right? Because I believe that it all goes into whatever that creation is. That we as creators, human beings as creators, all of us have this capacity to put something into what it is that we're doing.
Right.
So imagine if you just had an argument with your wife, right? I met your wife before the call, right? So you had an argument with her, and then you jump onto the podcast, right? And that's in your space.
Yeah.
Right? That's in your space. You're present, but what's underlying in the space is a little bit of tension, and maybe you're a little edgier, or maybe, somehow it gets expressed. And if it doesn't get expressed, then it's embodied, right? So when we have big emotions, right, we have to do something with those emotions.
Right.
And so it all goes into it. And one of the things that we've been very conscious about with the Ravyn Lyte project is what goes in it. What goes into the music, what goes into the messaging, the collaborators that are involved, right? Where they're coming from, how they're feeling when they're doing whatever it is that they're doing for the project. So I like to have like the whole supply chain, if you will, the whole system of production for the project be one of a consciousness, right? A consciousness that is embodied in the music. And so Ravyn Lyte is an extension of that, is an extension of human collaboration, right? With an intention behind it to create some great music that people can listen to and enjoy and love. That also is like having a 5-star meal versus McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So we're creating like the Michelin chef, what do you call it? What, Michelin chefs? Right? The 5-star chefs.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not
So,
like a foodie in any sophisticated ways.
oh, okay. Yeah. So there's levels to the food that we eat. Right?
Yeah.
And so this is the so this project is that quality food that does your body good and tastes great, right? Like that. And so it originated from my exploration of what's possible with AI, because the AI generative image generators and being able to sculpt characters and so forth. I got deep into that, and Ravyn Lyte was a product of that. I ended up creating over 4,000 images of her.
Wow.
And then when it came to the possibility of the music, I said, well, wait a minute, here's an artist that my 9-year-old daughter will be able to enjoy.
Yeah.
Right? And I know what's in it. Right? I know what's in it. I know what she's eating. I know what she's consuming into her body, into her consciousness when she listens to Ravyn Lyte. And I know what other people are consuming as they listen to Ravyn Lyte. And this is what we want in the world. We want, conscious artists, right? We want Ravyn Lyte to be a demonstration and example of what's possible for human artists, because there are a whole bunch of humans behind Ravyn Lyte and involved in a project and creating. So it's really a collaboration with the AI tools and it being an opportunity to reach other audiences that we normally wouldn't be able to reach.
That's really cool, man. So you have like a number of collaborators involved that work with you on this project?
Yeah. One of my collaborators is Sean Myers, who is my co-writer with the Just Be the One song, the 111 song. He's done had hits with Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato and a few other stars. And so we created the 111 song together as a collaboration with generative AI tools and our abilities and specialized knowledge in creating hits, right? And then there's the Ravyn Lyte voice, for example. So we brought in a woman who basically is the voice of Ravyn Lyte. So clone her voice. Her name is Shani. She's the voice of Ravyn Lyte.
Yeah.
And so now Ravyn Lyte's able to sing in different languages and all of that as a result of that voice clone and speak in different languages. So Ravyn's done some TV appearances where she's spoken in Spanish, for example. And yeah, so it's a diverse group actually from around the world. One of the project, she's project coordinators. She's from Finland, another's from Spain, right? And even on the fashion side, Ravyn has a stylist now. The House of Nova is helping out with the stylist. We're looking at doing something for New York Fashion Week and things like that. So imagine the amount of people that are involved in, I don't know, one of the Disney princesses.
Yeah.
Right? Or Mickey Mouse, or some of these other characters that we have an affinity for, right? In culture worldwide. What I realized was that this is a community effort. It's not about just one person as a creator creating something in the world, but a collective of people creating something. And then the fans, even the fans of Ravyn Lyte, there are a couple of Ravyn Lyte fans who've sent in things that they've done, right? That we're looking at using, and sometimes we've used in social media posts and things like that, right? So now Ravyn is starting to have some fans and over 200,000 followers on Instagram, over 20,000 listeners on Spotify, and this is not bad for the first month.
Wow, that's awesome. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So you said there was, you said it's a team effort, and you talked about like just the expression of the conscious, right? So whatever kind of day you're having manifests in the work that you're doing, and it sounds like you're very attuned to that. So is that, as I'm assuming you're heading this project, so as the overseer of this project, are you tapped into that? Are you like supervising the collaborators' mindsets when they're contributing? Is that something you're paying attention to?
I'm always paying attention to what's happening in the environment. I think it's very important to be conscious of what's happening in an environment, right? And so I believe in intentional environments. So when I was doing a lot of research around behavior and reading, things like Atomic Habits and some of those books on behavior, I remember reading about if you wanted to go to the gym, right, put a gym bag in front of your bed or in front of the door, so that when you get out of the bed, you actually trip over your gym bag in order to, right? So it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Make it easy for you to actually do the action and activity that you want to do, right? And that's using an object, right? So putting an object in the environment. So if you want to eat healthier, don't buy sweets and processed foods and put that in your environment, because you're more likely to consume that, right? So that's being intentional about the environment, right? That's being intentional, being conscious of how people are feeling and is something going on with someone and okay, working through whatever needs to be worked through to get that out of the space. In some communities, they call it clearing the space.
Yeah.
Right. And when you clear the space, whether that's emotional space, whether that's mental space, whether that's physical space, right, then what it does is you're getting the clutter out of the way so that something great can be produced.
Mhm.
So it's the same thing with athletes. I mean, that's the easiest one, right? The athletes have to have a particular mindset
Yeah.
to perform at a high level. And so I'm very much in tune with that. And sometimes there's not time to tune up an environment, right? And so if you're working with people that are connected to that concept, right, then you can also table, right, a disagreement where there's disharmony or dissonance happening in a relationship. You can table it to get something accomplished, right? And then you go back and bring it back and work through it and resolve it. So these are some of the tactics that I believe in, um, and it's really more like a practice than like, oh, I do that. It's like I practice that, right? It's something that I'm conscious of and constantly, and for years now have been practicing.
Um, that's pretty wild. And obviously, Raven Light's kind of like the first of its kind, right? From what you're creating here, this isn't something that's been really done that I know of successfully. Um, and it's pretty incredible what you guys are working on because it's so new and it's just this evolving technology of AI, which is just like really ramped up in the last few years, more so than I think in previous years, just with its mainstream usage. Like, what are some of the obstacles you've experienced in just rolling out this project?
I see obstacles as opportunities. And one of the things that I'm noticing, as we are, creating the Raven Light experience for fans and people that are just curious, even about the project, as we look at what does live performance look like, right? When we look at the immersive environments that can be created, right? So that's one of the things that that I've been very much seeing as the opportunity is in the experiences side of things,
Right.
right? The
She's not
physical,
standing on a stage physically, right? Technically speaking.
yeah. Well, what if she could stand on the stage physically?
Now, are you talking holograms?
We can do holograms. There's someone on the team that's been involved with holograms and that, right? So we can do that.
Yeah.
They did that at Coachella for the Japanese character, the anime character, right? And so they had her with a hologram and a live band playing with her.
Mhm.
It's kind of, you know, what else can be done,
Yeah.
right? The hologram thing has been done.
Yeah.
Um, can it actually be like a real person there, right? That
What are you
is
talking? Somebody acting?
uh, maybe, maybe.
Okay.
you know
Yeah.
so again, there's the opportunities, right? So
Yeah.
opportunities. So what will Raven's tour look like?
Mhm.
Those are the things that we're looking at now. One of the people on the project, his name is Nick Hawkes, and he's out of the UK. He's very big in the EDM world. He's been around forever. He's the manager of Prodigy and a few big like dubstep artists and so forth in the EDM scene. So he's uh, advising the project and helping to A&R it. He was a co-founder of the label that signed Adele, right? So very smart business person, but he's also a DJ, right? And so I was speaking with him earlier, and he was just talking about this festival that he played at, and right over the weekend. And what does Raven Light playing big festivals look like?
That's what I'm
Right?
wondering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we're wondering too right now.
Yeah.
and how much does it cost to create those experiences, and what partners are going to be great for that. And so we're now in a process of considering different partners for different aspects of the project, different companies that want to align with Ravyn Lyte's mission, and so forth. And you know, to do incredible live experiences that can travel the world, you know, though that could be millions of dollars. And that's exciting, right? That's exciting. The possibility of going on the road with a complete experience. Imagine that you are walking into the songs. Imagine
As a
that,
fan, you're saying?
yeah, this is where we're going. You know, you're able to like walk into the songs. You're able to experience the music and at like physically,
Yeah.
right? Like literally, you can feel the air of the song. You know, these kinds of things. This is where my mind goes, right?
Now, are
Like
you talking like metaverse or like beyond that? So you're not just putting on, like, are you putting on like a headset where you're experiencing this, or what? What do you
oh,
envision?
I can't get too deep into the weeds of
Okay,
it.
I got you. I got you.
Yo, I
You
don't want
can't
to. I
blame
don't
me
want
for
to give away
prying,
the
right?
secrets.
You can't blame me for prying, right?
I see you over there, Mike.
Fascinating, man. I want to know, but I got you. I got you. I'll respect your confidentiality.
Yeah, I mean, the other part of it is that there are people on the team that are absolute field experts on it. So I can give you the overarching surface level, but that may do a disservice for communicating about what we're creating, really. But what we're creating is something, you know, special because we can do something special, you know. And I would assert and challenge that for the listeners of this conversation is, can you create something special in what it is that you're doing, right, in your life, with your family, with your community, with your business, with your coworkers, right? it, Remove the barriers of possibility and what can emerge inside of the space of possibility
Yeah.
with technology, with creativity, with your being able to be innovative. And that's one of the things that I really care deeply about for entrepreneurs and people that, want to start movements or start businesses or have businesses, and they want to propel it. I really support communities of entrepreneurs through my programs
Mhm.
like Wealth and Impact Bootcamp and other programs, right? So showing them how to use AI tools to be able to leverage the tools for what they're creating, especially if they are about raising consciousness and systemic social change and doing something impactful in the world that is in service of humanity. And
Mhm.
I really, that's another part of my life that I really enjoy doing is sharing what I've learned and what I discover and empower those participants in those programs to be able to do those things in themselves, right? So a lot of people have experienced big transformations in their lives, whether that's they become financially independent or they end up on the covers of magazines or on television or like that, getting a lot of attention and awards and so forth, being a part of those programs because I like taking the principles that we use in entertainment, right? And those are principles and skills that can be transferred over into the business world, into building brands, into like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And this is not going to end with Ravyn Lyte. You know that. Like this is probably there's probably already things that I'm not aware of, but as far as entertainment goes, um I can't help but think we're just going to see more and more of this. It's like Ravyn Lyte's going to have a competing artist, and you know what I mean? That's going to be going up against her and
Listen,
movies.
it's important that Coke has Pepsi,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So we're the Coke. We're a Coke, and there's gonna be a Pepsi,
Yeah.
and there's gonna be a Sprite, and there's gonna be a ginger ale, and all of that, right? And I think it's all great, right? I don't look at things from a lens of competition. I look at I like the word competimates, right? Competimates, right? And because I love collaboration, and I look at wow, even now, there's some potential collaborations like Ravyn Lyte guesting on people's music projects and things like that, right? So we're already in the space of like looking at human collaborators. I
Okay.
would love to have like some AI collaborators for Ravyn,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Right? Because I mean, imagine if Michael Jackson and Prince had gotten together and started doing music together.
Man, I can't even imagine that. I can't
Can
even
you
imagine how
imagine?
wild that. No, I can't. I can't. That's like just a collision of the geniuses right
Why
there.
didn't why didn't somebody do that, right? Be like, you know what?
That's your next project, Marcus.
You know what? That is possible.
Make a note of that, man.
There we go. There we go. It started right here on Mike's. So, okay, we're going to be reaching out to the Michael Jackson estate and the
Yeah.
Prince estate, and we're going to end that battle right now
Yeah, there you go.
and do a collaboration that's like super dope.
I can't think of another person to spearhead that project, man.
Oh, thanks.
Seriously. That's pretty wild. Um, Tell me about the boot camp, this Wealth and Impact Bootcamp that's close to your heart. You mentioned it earlier, and I wanted to get into that.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. I being in music my entire life, basically. Uh, I started my first business when I was 12 years old, and my mentors were my first investors. I didn't know what I was. I was 12 years old. I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know what it meant to build a business, what it meant to have employees, to invest in business, and so forth. And I remember I was $75,000 in debt, not from like partying or anything like that. At the time, it really bothered me, right? Because it's like, okay, wow, I have like all this debt. And it wasn't student loan debt. It wasn't, anything. It wasn't consumer debt, right? I had purchased equipment.
Mhm.
Now, what I realized now was I was investing in my business,
Mhm.
right? So I was able to have hits and build a career out of those investments and equipment. But at the time, I didn't see it that way. It was like, well, I got to get rid of this debt.
Mhm.
And what was the straw that kind of broke the camel's back? I don't know if I even like that analogy or that saying, because I don't want to break camels' backs.
No,
But
we want PETA coming down on us.
but I got a call from a family member, and they were having some financial issues, and I couldn't help. I couldn't help. I didn't have the money. I had like $50 in my account, and I couldn't help support them.
Yeah.
And that was my line in the sand. And I said, you know what? I need to learn about how to build wealth, not just for myself, but for my family, for um, for the people that I care about and love, for the people that might need help, right? And so I must get myself in a position to be able to be that for others. That me being hand to mouth actually doesn't serve me and it doesn't serve others. So I started reaching out to people that I knew had done well in business and got mentored in the areas of building wealth. And so I had some billionaire mentors and some centimillionaire mentors and people that had either created businesses, they were self-made or not self-made, right? They inherited, empires, that type of thing. And so I started to seek specialized knowledge in that area, and then I like to learn by doing, so I started implementing and doing the things and learning and growing and all of that. And as I started getting on the other side of debt, then I realized, well, wait a minute, I was able to get myself out of $75,000 of debt. Now what?
Yeah.
Right? So
How
so
do you
then I had
prevent
to
that from
acquire
happening
the
again?
next level, right? Now how do you take, some incoming
Mhm.
and multiply that? And then I had to learn from multiplying that from incoming to how do you do it in such a way that it's sustainable over time, over generations, right? Where you're operating off of the interest of a principle that's continuing to grow, right? So these kinds of principles. And so as I started to gain more proficiency and seeing that play out in my life and create freedom for myself, I wanted to share that with others. And so I created Wealth and Impact Bootcamp with that intention to share my specialized knowledge that I had gained out of experience, as well as the things that I learned and things that I see. And so I've now, with Wealth and Impact, been able to support hundreds of people in creating incredible lives that they've designed for themselves.
Mhm.
And it really is close to my heart because it's the place where I house my specialized knowledge in these other areas. And I even have a version of Wealth and Impact that is AI infused. And so that group is making incredible strides with the AI tools that I've been bringing forth inside that community, and even community members bringing new tools in.
Yeah.
And so I love it because it's one of those things that I see just like in music. If you look at immortality, okay, which I think about, immortality, like I want to live forever. So
Mhm.
how do I live forever?
Mhm.
Right? How do people live forever? Well, if you create music, that's one vehicle. If you write books, that's another vehicle. And if you create movements, that's one vehicle. If you create pieces of art, that's a vehicle. If you create entities that help people live better lives, then all of a sudden you have not just created something that people can like see or experience, but then it's something that people can live. And so my immortality inside of Wealth and Impact is tied to the success of the participants. Their success is my success because they're able to pass forward through their lives and through their businesses and through the millions that they end up making and the celebrity that they begin to gain. They get to pass that down to their families and pass that across and share the narratives that don't disempower but empower
Mhm.
their aims.
Yeah. I think it's great that you had the opportunity to be mentored by successful people. Um, I think there's no argument that when you surround yourself with successful people, you feed off their energy and it can only empower you. And so like I totally get that and I try to live that in my own life. And I've been so blessed in my own life just to maintain friendships with people with a lot of positive energy, and it's really fueled um, my life in like profound ways. What are some of the takeaways you can share from that time that you were mentored and things started to click for you?
Well, one of the things that I will share that is kind of a first principle. And I became a student of time. Okay. And I was thinking about, well, what are the things that hold people back from living their dreams? And one of those factors is Now, I don't have enough time. I'm too old. I'm too young.
Yeah.
Right? And money, there are other narratives, but time is a big narrative. Some people have a time narrative that is really disempowering their lives.
Yeah.
Right? And one of those things that I studied about time, and there was a guy that's a friend of mine now. At the time that I met him, I met him at the National Speakers Association, and we were having dinner, a group of us, and he was talking about the books that he had written, and he had written a book about time, and I was like, "What? You wrote a book about time?" I love time. I love studying time and like conversations about time. So, like, he became a bit of my time mentor, right? So the book that he had written is out of print, and I feel very fortunate because he reached out to the publisher and had a copy sent to me. And so I studied that book, and when you have access to the author of a great book, because books can be your mentor as well.
Yeah.
Right? So you can be mentored by a book, but when you combine the mentorship of reading plus the person that wrote the thing.
Yeah, accessing the mind of the individual that authored that.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a different level of mentorship and access to specialized knowledge. And so I'll just share another principle: seek specialized knowledge, right, in areas that are important for your wealth and impact, right? So here arises someone that has specialized knowledge in time. So he sent me down this Alex in Wonderland around time, right? So I studied time psychology, time philosophy, time geography. I reached out to friends of mine that were in the space industry, right? Because I had done some projects with some people that are in the space industry, some astrophysicists and so forth. And I reached out to them, talk to me about space time, right? So I would start engaging in conversations around time and space and all of that, right? So I started to see, wow, time can be a tool and time can be a weapon. And one of those weapons as it relates to finances is time is money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So time is money is a thing that has been invented, a conversation, a narrative, a story that has been invented that has people in poverty.
Yeah.
So if you flip that narrative and now value is money, then what's possible? So you go from thinking about what it is that you do and the help that you are creating for people from how long did it take me to do that, to, well, what was the impact that had, right, on the person, and how valuable is it for that person, right? It's the same thing in the music industry. There are people that pay for studio time, right? And they may have the misperception that, oh, well, if you're going to hire a producer, right, that can, give you a hit song or help create with you a hit song or an artist defining song or, capture your emotions or whatever, you may think, oh, you pay that person about an hour, right? So it's like, okay. So there was a moment where I was charging by the hour for things, right? It was like, okay, so Marcus, can we use your studio? Yes. So they come and use my studio, right? And it was like, what, $40 an hour? I forget whatever it was back then.
Yeah.
And so, but because I was engineering, they would get my producing by the hour.
You didn't charge him a producer fee and a studio fee?
Right, right. So,
Yeah.
so it's like, though you pay for the studio and you pay for my specialized knowledge
Yeah.
is a different thing, and that's not by the hour,
Yeah.
right? So just that one unlock, right?
Mhm.
So you imagine just unlocking that. Now that hour, because I work fast,
Mhm.
so that hour is no longer, $40, but $40,000. That's an unlock,
Yeah.
right? Or $4,000, right? Um, that type of thing. And so just, I mean, this is like one concept that when you start separating out time and money and say, okay, and then you insert value instead of time, and then, but then as an um, if you look at time, even in systems like mass incarceration, for example,
Mhm.
right? Those kinds of issues. What do they say when you get locked up? You're doing what?
Time. Time.
This is
Mhm.
the weaponization of time,
Right.
right? So, yeah. So time is money is that was a long answer to your question. That's a first principle, um, distinguishing what money is
Mhm.
and then what time is,
Yeah.
right? Once you have those distinguished, then that unlocks all kinds of possibilities in terms of income producing, uh, wealth building. It opens up the door for how you spend your time, how you enjoy your life, right? How healthy you are, how you're able to attend to the needs of yourself and others, right? When you have the principles and the tactics and the tools for being able to powerfully use time, and then the principles, the practices, and the tools around money, then just those two tools, and there are about 7 domains that we explore in Wealth and Impact Bootcamp, but just those two right there will completely change your life and change the lives of those around you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, you hit on a really important principle when it comes to business, and that's especially for entrepreneurs, and that's the ability to multiply yourself.
Yeah.
So if you can't do that, if you're just in that studio working for $40 an hour at that time, and that's all you did, and you didn't learn, and I love the way you put it, the unlock, right? Because there's a lock there. You're only making $40 an hour, and you could be making a lot more, and you found that unlock. You open that door, you open that opportunity, you multiplied yourself. You're still in the studio, you're still doing the work, but you found a way to um, combine the skill set of the fact that you're also an engineer. Because when you rent a studio, you need an engineer. It doesn't run on autopilot, right? And you got to pay that engineer. And I love that. I love the way you put that.
Yeah, when you look at that scenario, there's the studio, right? The studio gets paid, the engineer gets paid, the
Yeah.
producer gets paid, the vocal producer gets paid,
Yeah.
the songwriter can get paid, the instrumentalist can get paid, right? So when you start and when people come to me, like I do all of the things,
I was just going
right?
to say, you are all the above.
Right. So if you look at like all the roles that are being, sorted out in a
Yeah.
studio situation with me,
Yeah.
then it's like, okay.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible, man. So, Marcus, how can people get more familiar with your work?
Yeah, well, if someone's interested in, let's say, a wealth and impact course, they would go to iwantwealthandimpact.com, right? iwantwealthandimpact.com. Right? If people want to learn how to use AI tools for music and being able to, create their own kind of Ravyn lights, or, if you will, or if they just have a fascination with music and always wanted to learn songwriting and all of that. And AI tools enable that now. In 20 minutes, I showed 270 people at a conference I was speaking at how to create a song. And so 270 people wrote their first songs in 20 minutes.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
If someone wants to explore that, they would go to iwanttomakemusic.com, right? iwanttomakemusic.com. Just go there. And then I'm at Bellringer Music across platforms. On LinkedIn, I'm Marcus Bellringer, like that.
That's awesome, man. I'll make sure to put that stuff in the show notes. And there's so much more I want to talk to you about. So, I hope you'd come back and hang out with us, Marcus.
Yeah, love to come back. And if you're wanting to check out Ravyn Lyte, go to ravynlyte.com. RAVYNLYTE.
We will put it up there. Thanks for being here, man. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And that'll do it for this edition. We are out of here. Subscribe to us if you haven't already. Check us out at mikecpodcast.com and leave us a comment. Tell us what your experience has been with AI. It's everywhere now, so we want to hear what you guys have experienced using it. And until next time, thanks, guys. We're out of here.
Whoop, whoop.
The Mike C. Podcast.